Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. Now, obviously, we can all talk and speculate all day long about how the forced diversity, inclusion, and equity nonsense is absolutely and completely and totally destroy the entertainment industry out there, whether it be Hollywood or video games. We've seen the exact same kind of stuff happen all the way around. Well, it's also nice at the exact same time to get this exact same confirmation from somebody that's inside of the industry, somebody who knows where all the levers are pulled out, knows how the grease goes inside of the gears out there, and how the machine continues to run out there, and all the places to have a former Disney executive. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, a Disney executive come out there and explain all of this stuff and lay it out for you exactly what is behind all of this diversity, inclusion, and equity nonsense, and why the companies continue to double down on this stuff even though it loses them billions of dollars at the box office. Well, even though it's been speculation, even though this probably won't come as a shock to a lot of people out there, this lady out here is confirming exactly how it's all gone down and what has driven these companies to the point of bankruptcy, where they are now having to finally say no more. They're not doing this anymore in any way, shape, or form, because guess what? As we've talked about in the past, the money, you eventually run out of other people's money, and that's exactly seems what it has happened now as well. So we're going to check out this article from thatparkplace.com, getting all of the juicy details of exactly what this Disney executive has to say about what the real reason for the first inclusion behind the scenes is. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Let us know what you think about all this. Does it surprise you at all to hear someone who formerly worked in the belly of the beast itself come out and be completely and totally open about this kind of stuff? Is it just nice and refreshing to hear confirmation for what we've already known for so long, or is this new information to you that is actually just coming to you for the first time? Let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below. So from thatparkplace.com and our dear sweet John F. Trent, former Disney executive explains how Hollywood's collapse and puts blame on DEI initiatives funded by investment firms. Oh, yes, boys and girls, for some of you out there in the hardcore no, you'll probably recognize some of the names she mentions in here. Former Walt Disney Television executive Monica Harris recently explained why Hollywood is collapsing and put the blame squarely on DEI initiatives. Oh, yes. Color us shocked there. And shout out to her getting on the click. Shout out to Clifton Duncan having her on. If you haven't, go follow Clifton Duncan on all of his social medias. Dude's great. She began by pointing to Target. I think the reason we see no course correction is the same reason we see Target market items. And I think we know which items I'm talking about. Yes, if you don't, you should go look into it. It'll disturb the living hell out of you, and hopefully you'll never shop at Target again. That clearly don't appeal to customers. I think when you have like trans Cheerios and stuff like that, you're making a statement that has nothing to do with your audience and its taste. Yeah, how well has all of this stuff worked out for the general audiences over the last few years? Oh, that's right. It's cost Hollywood and Disney and the gaming industry out there hundreds of billions of dollars in losses. Congratulations. Harris continued, what we've seen in the corporate world, and I'm going somewhere with this, is that we've seen in the corporate world is the facetious and slavish adherence to ESG, environmental, social, governance, principles, which are really just DEI in practice, in products, and in hiring in the corporate world, i.e. the diversity quotas we've seen, the diversity requirements we've seen out of Hollywood, that we've seen inside of Disney's own corporations that saying you will only get, X, Y, and Z promotions, X, Y, and Z bonuses if you have X amount of diversity people inside of your department. Yeah, that kind of stuff that we've all found out is absolutely true. It's not just rumors. No, we've seen the documents. So these corporations are pursuing these marketing tactics and sales tactics with products that are doomed to flop and do flop. Go woke, go broke after all. And they lower the shareholder value, i.e. Disney stock. How's Ubisoft stock looking? How is any one of these companies out there that have done this? Look at what they were compared to just 5 years ago. How's that working out for them? But they continue them nonetheless. And the deeper I've been digging, and especially my work at FAIR, Foundation Against Intolerance and Racism, which is exactly what this is. It's reverse. Well, it's not even reverse racism. It's just actual racism, because racism, by definition, no matter how much they try to change it, is the discrimination against a person based on their color. How they look, immutable characteristics. That is the definition of racism, no matter how much they try to change it and make it about institutional power. It's not about institutional power. That's an institutional power problem. which I'll talk about later. But the deeper I've been digging, I've noticed it's happening because the same core group of companies are largely funding or have shareholder stakes. The majority shareholder stakes in Fortune 500 companies and in the S&P 500. We're talking about BlackRock. We're talking about Vanguard. We're talking about State Street. Now, where have we heard those names before? Oh, that's right. They own anywhere from 7 to 10%. A lot of these major corporations out there and have executives on their boards, i.e. Disney. When those three companies and their subsidiaries dominate boards of directors and dominate the ownership of stock, they literally are in the position to tell these companies to adhere to whatever guidelines they'd like. Yes, indeed, which is why the power play was done, trying to take over the board of Disney last year by all of those guys out there. Hopefully we'll see that happen again next year as well. So if DEI is an initiative and that the majority of these shareholders would like the companies to pursue, then that's what they'll pursue. Because if not, then they'll face the wrath of the people who can yank the money, yank the loans, yank the funding, because it's all about money. Yes, boys and girls, at the end of the day, they are being bribed just like every politician, just like every other leader you've ever seen in the past. They are being forced down this path with the promise of money. And don't get me wrong, there are absolutely some true believers inside of these corporations. I, for one, believe Star Wars' Kathleen Kennedy is 100% a true believer, but I don't believe a lot of the rest of these guys are. It just came down to money, boys and girls. So at the end of the day, if you're a CEO, you're like, do I piss off my consumer base and maybe hope I can massage them, i.e. get money out of them? Or do I piss off the people who are actually funding me, i.e. the people who upfront the money for these studios to produce movies and television shows? It's not like Disney just has $300 million sitting around the bank for them to blow on these television shows, on these movies. No, what they do is they go out there and they get investors, and they get those investors to take on a portion of the brunt of the cost of the movie, with the promise that if the movie makes a profit, they will get a portion of those profits. It's why Joker 1 didn't make Warner Brothers hardly any money at all, because they didn't believe in the movie and had a bunch of outside investors come in, i.e. they ended up taking the majority of the profit for that movie, even though it made $1 billion as well. It's the exact same kind of situation here. So these corporations like BlackRock and State Street and Vanguard out there were only willing to support and push and finance movies and televisions that met their diversity, inclusion, and equity markers. And guess what? We've seen how well that's worked, because at some point, 2 plus 2 still equals 4, and the money dries up because they're not getting the return on investment that what they thought they could. These psychopathic, these elites out there who look down all of us as nothing more than peasants and serfs, they thought they could control behaviors. They thought they could force you into accepting their woke agenda. And guess what? Just like these studios have found out, just like the gaming industry has found out, these psychopathic, narcissistic cult leaders that believe they're your betters have also found out that you will not accept it. You will not take this stuff lying down. You are smarter than they have been. You are smarter than they ever expected to be, and you are of a more strong will. You are not the sheep they believed you to be, and you cannot be pushed into things like cattle to the slaughter. It is not working out, and they are finding that out right now. Don't believe me? Guess what? Look at the price, the stock price of any of these companies out there. No matter how much of an inflection of cash they've gotten from Vanguard, State Street, or BlackRock, guess what? 2 plus 2 still equals 4, and they have fallen flat doing this stuff. So at the end of the day, and you're between a rock and a hard place, quite literally. And then they think very much the same is true in Hollywood. DEI has swept through the place. The Academy Awards, the nominations are only available to films that hit certain quotas, right? Yep, we've seen all of that stuff come out. You have to have a certain number of people who are black or BIPOC, trans, non-binary, or whatever. Yes, one of their underrepresented classes, which they're the ones that define all of that and completely, totally make up all the rules arbitrarily. So yes, it makes sense. It's totally the antithesis of what artistic work is about. Yes, it's paint by the numbers. You have to have X, Y, and Z about that. It's not just you creating your head and introducing all of these characters in there because they make sense for the story. No, they are forcing this stuff in here, which is why the movies suck. besides just all of the diversity, inclusion, and equity. That's why we say it's a red flag, because we know if they concentrate on all of this nonsense, the story is going to fail flat and end up being part of the wayside of this. And we've seen that happen time and time again. Velma wasn't just diverse and inclusive. It was also crappy, bad storytelling with garbage jokes. Even the Hollywood critics had to admit that, even though they're all down for the diversity, inclusion, and equity. That's how you know this stuff doesn't work, and it doesn't work for art. Paint by the numbers does not give you anything original. But they do this because I think Netflix was an example. If they don't adhere to these guidelines, those loans, the funding is going to be yanked. So again, they are between a rock and a hard place. That's the untold story, in my opinion. And that's fascinating to think about, that literally these corporations had no desire to really truly go down this path. I mean, like I said, there were several of them, I do believe, inside of these corporations that are 100% true believers, right? They're the ones pushing a lot of these agendas. They're the ones designing all of this kind of stuff. They're the ones that have gotten the education on this kind of stuff. But why? Why would these corporations out there, why would these investment firms, why would they intentionally fund stuff that they know is going to lose? Because they want to change you. They want to change your behaviors. Don't believe me? Well, here it is from the horse's mouth himself. And I remember watching this. I remember seeing clips of this back in the day. I thought he was just talking about forcing us in the pod and making us eat the bugs. No, no, no. It's across the board on everything. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, one of those companies she just named, during the New York Times Dealbook Conference back in 2017. Yes, you can go all the way back to that. They were speaking about this stuff out loud. That's how we know what's coming. We're not psychics. We're not geniuses. We're not prophets. We just listen to the psychopaths that are pulling all the levers behind the scenes. Well, behaviors are going to have to change. And this is one thing that we're asking companies. You have to force behaviors. You will accept the LGBTQ version of your favorite superhero, or if not, you're a bigot or you're a homophobe, and you won't be allowed in polite company. We will force these behaviors on you, comrade. You stupid little serf. Do as you're told. And at BlackRock, we are forcing behaviors. 54% of the incoming class are women. We've added 4 more points in terms of diverse employment this year. And what we are doing internationally, if you don't achieve these levels of your impact, your compensation could be impacted. Could be. If you don't do as you're told, we may take money away from you. We might do it. Yes, we may. So you better do those. I mean, it's literally mob tactics. Hey, man, if you don't pay me, this is a rough neighborhood, right? If you don't pay us for, there's a lot of bad guys around here. But if you give us a little money, maybe nothing bad will happen to you. It'd be a shame if somebody took this baseball bat right here and smashed your window. Now, wouldn't it? Be a shame. You don't want something like that to happen again, now do you? It'd be a shame if we send the screaming mob of LGBTQ alphabet soup mafia nut jobs out there against you on Twitter, now wouldn't it? That'd be a bad thing. You don't want to deal with all those screaming psychopaths, do you? You don't want that kind of bad PR, do you? Well, I guess you better give us what we want, huh? And what we are doing internally is if you don't achieve these levels, your compensation could be impacted, which is exactly what we saw happen in the Disney files that came out that said, yes, if you would not get your bonuses inside of the company if your section wasn't as diverse as what they needed. You have to force behaviors. And if you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted. Yes, we're going to send the mob after you. We're going to continue to do that. We're going to take away your money. We're going to punish you if you don't try to force these behaviors on your customers. And it's not just recruiting, it's development, as Ken said. And ultimately, it's still going to take time. But I am just as much as shocked as Ken that we have not seen more opportunities. And we're going to have to force change. Yes, that's right, bigot. That's right, phobe. That's right, ist. They will force the behavior on you. You will eat the bugs. You will live in the pod. You will own nothing, and you will be happy. You don't like gay? Well, you're going to get used to it. We're going to force it into every one of your favorite IPs. We're going to force it into all your superheroes. We're going to force it into all of your escapism. We're going to force it into your video games. We're going to trans your kids. We're going to trans your favorite superheroes. We're going to trans everything you love because you're nothing more than a stupid fucking serf. You are our slaves. You will capitulate to what we fucking want. That's what they believe. That's what they've always believed. They thought you out there were stupid fucking sheep. They thought you nerds and you geeks and you consumers out there were just a bunch of stupid fucking pigs that would slop up any slop that they threw in your trough. They thought that they could force you to accept a cock down your throat even though you weren't gay. They thought they could force you to accept them to cut off the genitalia of your children. They thought they could force you to accept them your children getting exposed to people who want to fucking molest them. That's the kind of behaviors they were trying to force on you because they thought you were a stupid fucking moron little sheep out there that would do whatever these evil shepherds wanted you to do. And guess what? Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, we are winning and they are losing. People have woken up to the devil's lies. We are not going along with your diversity, inclusion, and equity. We are not going along with your demonic ideology. Don't believe me? Look at the hundreds of billions of dollars these industries have lost. Whether it be Hollywood, whether it be video games, whether it be Target, whether it be Bud Light. They have lost because you, the fans, the common sense individual, smells what they are cooking and it fucking stinks and you want no part of it. And now they are losing. So shout out to this lovely lady, Monica Harris, who came out here and just gave us confirmation of what we have always known. They wanted to treat you like slaves, keep you on a plantation. They just called it consumerism. They called it ideology. It's the exact same thing. Well, guess what? Just in like so many times as past, just like it did in Star Wars, as you grip your fist tighter, more and more people have slipped away. And now the rebellion is here. Enjoy fighting with the parallel economy because we represent the majority, not you psychopathic, narcissistic, demon-possessed elites. You're not our betters. You never will be. Go woke, go broke exists for a reason. And the hundreds of billions of dollars you have sacrificed to the altar of your false idol has cost you almost everything. And at the end of the day, you'll get exactly what you deserve. Fans win.